Assalamu alaikum. May peace be upon each and every single one of you. So this is my story of our lost baby, from a father's perspective, from a Muslim father's perspective. Definitely the most difficult time of my life, and as a family collectively, for sure, the most difficult time of our lives. I want to first start this by giving an advice to all of the women out there who have suffered a loss like this. I would say first and foremost, and again this is from a man's perspective, is don't look at your significant other who may be smiling, who may be laughing, who may seem to have just got on with life. Don't look at them and think that, and judge by their actions, that they're somehow over it or that it doesn't bother them anymore. Because I can assure you that inside, like me, they're hurting. that they're in pain, and they're suffering. And we live in this society, and we live in this world where we're supposed to be the strong. We're supposed to be the type that doesn't cry. We're supposed to be, people who are, immune to emotions and to sadness and to trauma. But I can assure you that that's not the case. So my advice is most definitely that when you look at your husbands, your significant others, and they seem to have just rebounded so quickly, it's not because they have, it's because they're hiding their emotions. They're pushing that pain deep down inside them, because that's what we're trained to do. So look at them with compassion and know that they are hurting deeply inside, just as much as you. And I want to say that no man will ever be able to understand what a woman goes through when they have a loss like this. It's impossible. We don't know the physical connection that you have with that baby growing inside of you, and we can never replace it. We can never truly understand it, that what it is to just one day you're rubbing your belly and you're thinking about the future and you're talking to your baby, and the next day it's all over and it's gone. So we can never feel that pain. And so advice to men out there is that look to your wives, your significant others, look to them with empathy and compassion and sympathy. Don't push them, right? Everyone's grieving process is going to be different. And from my experience, from our experience, I know that Sana and I, we have dealt with this completely differently. And like how a man can't understand a woman's pain, a woman will never be able to understand the pain of her husband. Especially as a Muslim man, we're commanded in Surah Nisa, a chapter of the Quran, that we are the caretakers of women, that God has given us the responsibility of being caretakers of women. And the hardest part for me through all of this is, my entire life, I was blessed with a lot of the things that I hold so dearly in my faith now, that I was blessed with being taught those things as a non-Muslim, by my father, and about, taking care of how to treat, a woman, and how to treat people, and always being that rock, always being the one that is there to take care of your family. It doesn't have to be financially, but being there for them, taking care of them, fulfilling their needs, and so for the hardest part for me as somebody, we've been married for almost, this year will be our ninth year wedding anniversary. And, I've always been there, and I've always supported my wife and my children, and done everything that I can. Obviously that's sacrificing, my time with my family so that, my wife could stay home and be with our kids and be that, role model that's there 24/7. And now we have the beauty and the luxury of being able to work together and be together all the time. But, that's my mentality. And I think most men, especially Muslim men, have that mentality that it's our responsibility to do that. you know. So when I see my wife so utterly devastated, and knowing that there's nothing I can do, you know, that is a pain that hurts so bad. You know, and my children, you know, same thing. When I see when we had to come home from the midwife clinic, you know, where we had not the ultrasound, but we had the check for the heartbeat, and they confirmed that there was no heartbeat, and we had to come home, and that was probably one of the hardest moments of my life. You know, when your kids run up to you and they didn't know obviously what was going on, and since we found out, you know, that you know, we were pregnant, and I say we, interestingly enough, I never agreed with that term. I always thought it was, you know, she is pregnant, but you know, it's not. You know, it is we. That as soon as that pregnancy test, you know, tests positive, you know, we are so connected. You know, growing this connection of us. You know, this piece of her and a piece of I, and our generational, you know, DNA from our ancestors, and it coming together. You know, this is a we thing, and you know, so when we came home, immediately, you know, the kids ran up to us, because as soon as we put in the door code and opened the door, you know, the doorbell goes ding dong. The kids always come running down this big hallway that we had, and of course, you know, Sana's mom knew what was going on. She lives with us, and Sana just couldn't hold it back, and she just kind of fell into her mom's arms and was just crying, and the kids were like, "What is going on?" And I had to tell them, and I thought, you know, I just didn't know how. I didn't know what to say, and obviously Zainab is a little bit younger, so her comprehension may be a little bit different, but I think she just is a lot like me, that she internalizes pain, whereas Amina is much more expressive with her emotions and her feelings, and I said that. I thought I was going to say something very profound and beautiful, and I said, you know, I said, we're not going to get to meet the baby. And then I just said, why not, Daddy? And I just couldn't get words out, and I just like, she just collapsed and melted into my arms, and she was crying so bad. And you know, you always get the why, but why, you know, and you know, that's God's plan, and I just I couldn't speak, I couldn't say anything. We just embraced and cried, and that's been one of the hardest parts, you know, is seeing how my children have dealt with their emotions in this regard. You know, for Amina, again, I'm sure some have talked about it at this point. I haven't actually watched her video in full. I wanted to be able to sit down and watch both of our videos together. So I'm sure she probably talked about it, but you know, Amina is much more like, okay, well, we'll do flowers and, you know, and all this sort of stuff. And whereas Z is more like just missing that baby so deeply inside, and as a father, it's like I can't do anything, and it breaks my heart. You know, we're 3 weeks, 4 weeks almost. Yeah, we are. We're almost a month removed, and you know, and the pain is something that will never go away. You know, I learned that when my father passed away, that your grief, your pain, those things are always going to be there. But day by day, it becomes more numb. You become more numb to that feeling, you know, and I feel bad at times because I'm not crying every day. And I felt that way about my dad too, but you know, like they say, that time heals all wounds. I don't agree with that. I think that time enables us to do everything that we can to fill the voids that are there with other things to busy ourselves, to occupy our minds. But, you know, just sitting here talking, I've cried so many times, and you know what? That's okay. You know, to all you fathers out there, you know, it's okay to cry. I'm not somebody that likes to cry. I'm not somebody that likes to cry in front of people. You know, it's just not me. And I think that's something that's silly, you know, like this emotion of sadness and grief. Like why are we telling people, why are we teaching our children that, you know, we shouldn't be able to grieve, or we shouldn't be able to cry? You know, as a Muslim, the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, you know, he used to weep and cry all the time. He would stand in prayer and pray for us, not just us as Muslims, but all of the people of the world who would come after him, that he would weep for them. And there's so many narrations that, you know, he would be just covered in tears. His beard would become soaking wet with tears because he would cry for us. You know, and he's the example that we are supposed to follow as Muslims. So, you know, we should accept the fact, you know, that sorrow and hardship is a part of life. You know, Abdullah ibn Mubarak, rahimahullah, you know, when he traveled to Kufa, to Iraq, and he told the people, he said, show me the grave of Abu Hanifa, rahimahullah. And he went to Abu Hanifa's grave, and he spoke directly as if he was speaking to Abu Hanifa, rahimahullah. These are great, huge scholars in Islam. You know, and he began to speak to him and give his condolences, and, you know, and said that, you know, he said, so many people came before you and left, you know, heirs, essentially. You know, Ibrahim al-Nakhi, you know, came and he left inheritors, he left people to carry on. He said, but oh, Abu Hanifa, that you came and you left, and there is no one on the face of this earth who could better you, or you know, essentially, you know, be, you know, the next you. And then he began to weep, you know, like uncontrollably. You know, and actually, I just literally read that this morning in Kitab al-Athar. And, you know, it just goes to show that we as Muslims, we should not hold back our emotions. I'm guilty of that. I think all of us men are certainly guilty of that. You know, and this isn't just an advice to Muslim men, it's to everyone. That, you know, embrace your emotions. You know, people like to say, well, you know, you're a sissy, or, you know, suck it up, or whatever. And I wholeheartedly disagree. You know, I cried more in the last month than probably my entire life combined. And that's okay. And it's okay to cry, and it's okay to mourn. But as I mentioned before, like, we are going to mourn in different ways. Me, I internalize. And that might just be how I was brought up, or whatever. It might just be who I am. That, you know, I see my wife breaking, you know, shattered. And the last thing that I want to do is have her see me in a state where she's going to get more anxiety because I'm feeling that way. You know, so I think a lot of it has to do with that, you know, I try my best to protect, you know, her emotions and the emotions of my children and stuff by kind of, you know, suffering in silence. And to me, that's how I cope. You know, when this first happened, you know, so many of our friends and stuff, you know, messaging me, and I didn't even respond to them. That's just how I am. You know, and one way that I've really found has helped me is, you know, my entire life I've been, you know, I won't say I've been a violent person, but, you know, like I got kicked out of school many times for fighting, you know, and it's something that I love to do. I love to train, you know, and for me, physical, you know, being able to, you know, the first time I put on, you know, my boxing gloves after this happened, it was such a good way to vent frustration and vent my anger, and it really has helped me, you know, that I have that outlet, you know, that for me, as someone who I can't do anything, I'm so frustrated and so angry at everything, and obviously as a man that manifests into a, you know, a physical just want to just crush the world, you know, So I've really found that that helps. You know, everyone is different. Maybe your thing is running or swimming or whatever. For me, it's boxing. It's you know, it's martial arts. Um, you know, and then to get to the big point, you know, that when the moment I found out this happened, my instant reaction was, how could God do this to me? How could God do this to my family? And, you know, for a moment, I questioned my faith. And I think we all do that. You know, faith is something that is, it fluctuates. It goes up, it goes down. And I was like, I don't even feel like praying right now. I had the most profound connection to God, understanding and realizing that this is a test. We're all tested. You know, people have been tested far beyond what I've been tested with. And some people have, you know, been tested with less than what I've been tested with. You know, those first few days, they shattered me. They broke me. And I didn't know what to do. I didn't know where to turn. You know, but I turned towards faith. I turned towards, you know, that understanding that life is a test, that we're all being tested. You know, and I've always given this analogy, like I've given many, you know, lectures, you know, around the world. And one of the analogies that I give is that, you know, this life, this physical body is nothing more than a uniform. And that at the end of the day, you know, when we leave this world, we're just changing uniforms. We're just literally, our job at this moment is this. And when that time comes, we leave, you know. So the physical body that we see, you know, people are of all different shapes, all different sizes, all different colors, you know, some young, some old, you know, and everything in between. And at the end of the day, we have to leave these things behind, you know, and that solace in the fact that, you know, as I know Saleh has mentioned, you know, these narrations, these prophetic narrations from the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, about these miscarried children, that they are literally waiting for us, that, you know, this life is a test. So our children in this world will be tested. Their faith will be tested. Their devotion will be tested, with health, with wealth, with sickness, with, you know, all of the things. And we can only hope that we've instilled in them the right things that they need in order to be successful in the hereafter. But one guarantee we have is that at least one of our children will not have a reckoning, will not have an accountability on the day of judgment, and that child will beseech Allah, that child will complain to Allah and pull their family, even if we are destined for the fires of hell, that child will intercede for us on the day of judgment, and will not stop until they have saved, you know, their mother, their family, from the throes of hell. And, you know, these are authentically narrated by the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, and it definitely gives some comfort. You know, it definitely gives comfort to the mind that these things in this life are but a fleeting glimpse. You know, we're here for a moment and we're gone the next. And, you know, as someone who, again, is not an emotional person, tries not to be, pushes my emotions inside, tries to be the, you know, the strong guy that's, you know, that doesn't express, you know, feeling a lot of the times. You know, I found that this has made Sana and myself much stronger as a couple. But this really helped to put things into perspective. So there's definitely a silver lining in it. And there is a beauty in it if you let it be there. You know, for us, you know, we are the most incredibly close family I've ever seen or I've ever met. And, you know, and most of you guys know that, and to what extent you might not know, but you know, we literally spend every waking moment together as a family, every single day. We don't travel without each other. We try not to go to the store without each other, you know. So we're very close, and this has just brought us that much closer. And I think that you have to let it. I think that when things like this happen, it puts life into perspective. It not only tells us, you know, that life is so short. It's so short that your baby may not be able to even take a breath in this world. That's how short life can be. And that we have to do what we have to do in order to be successful. And, you know, as a Muslim, we have a responsibility to make every day the best, because we don't know what comes next. We may not be here tomorrow. We may not get to see the next day. So, you know, people always say live every day to the fullest. Well, that is something that in Islam, it's almost a requirement that we do that, because again, we don't know what comes next, but we also understand our purpose in this world. And our purpose is to spread goodness, you know, to recognize Allah and His commands and follow those, and a servitude to humanity, which segues into, you know, the last thing I'd like to talk about is that, you know, you guys were there for us when we traveled to Syria, and I got to go to Idlib and to meet some incredible people and see some incredible things that I will never forget. As well as, you know, in Turkey, and being able to meet the Uyghur brothers and sisters, and being able to meet and help so many people, and unbeknownst to us that our baby Iman was with us while we were there doing all of that. And now we had already planned a fundraiser in Ramadan with Human Concern International, and we didn't really have a structure to what we were going to be fundraising for, but we decided now that we are going to be building water wells in the name of Iman. And our goal is to build 100 water wells. And at this time right now, and it's been probably less than 24 hours, we've already built almost 8 of them. Not built, but we've raised enough money to build 8 of them. So, you know, these are things that will remain forever. You know, as long as the water is there, these wells will keep pumping clean, fresh drinking water to people in need in, I think, 6 different countries in Africa and Asia. And, you know, this is something that we wanted to do in memory of our child, but also the memory of all of your children, all of the losses that you've had. And I'm beseeching you guys, you know, to help us now. If you've ever lost someone that you loved, you know, donate to this cause. It is something that is so near and dear to us, you know, being people who, you know, social media influencers who aren't concerned about followers. We're not concerned about, you know, likes and dislikes. And, you know, what we're concerned about is using the platform that we have for good. And, you know, and through obviously building, you know, a platform of, you know, over, I think we're probably somewhere around 2.5 million followers now between our platforms, and building this amazing community that is regardless of religion and race and color and orientation, all of these things. So many people are so amazed, you know, like our connections at Human Concern International. Hassan Wadi, shout out to you, my brother. I love you and I appreciate everything that you do for us. You see him in a lot of our pictures and videos from Syria and Turkey. He's an incredible guy. But, you know, they're just blown away at how, like, so many, like, Christians and non-Muslims and all these different people, he's seeing their names come in through the donations, and he's just blown away. And this is you guys. This is what you have been able to build. You know, we might be the figurehead of this Saleh family, but at the end of the day, you're all part of it. And every single one of you, every one of your comments, every one of your kind donations, you know, and your support through these times have been, you know, incredibly helpful for us. I know Sana grieves how she grieves, and I grieve how I grieve, but the one thing that we have in common is that we see your comments, and we see your kindness and your compassion. And even though we may not be able to respond to all of you because there is so many of you, just know that we love you and we appreciate you, and we wouldn't be here without you. We wouldn't be able to share these stories, and in the hopes of, you know, someone hearing my story, a father hearing my story and knowing that he's not alone, knowing that it's okay to be sad, and it's okay to not move on. We never will move on. You know, we're never going to get over it. We're never going to just think that, you know, oh, wow, it's in the past. It's just not going to happen. You know, so mothers, you know, be kind to the fathers, and fathers be kind to the mothers. Understand each other's perspectives and their point of views, and how we grieve differently, how we're not the same. You know, we're created equal, but we're not the same. You know, there's so much more I would love to speak about, but I don't want to drag this too much longer. I will say that I will end it with this, that, You know, a common belief amongst Muslims is that the soul of a human being enters the body at 4 months. While this may be a common understanding, through my research and scholarly connections, I have found that this is actually not the most authentic opinion. That there is more evidence, more authentic evidence to suggest that the soul of a human being enters the body at 40 days, in and around 40 days. And also interestingly enough, that we don't turn to science to validate our religion, but once something scientific is there that correlates, we say, yeah, I know, because our faith teaches us this, and science is obviously going to connect with that. And the interesting part is that in and around 40 days is when the heart starts beating. And I found that very profound. And to me, again, people may disagree, it literally doesn't matter. But to me, that opinion holds more authentic information, it's a more authentic opinion. And not only that to so many people, that once that heart starts beating, the soul is in the body, and so many people lose their children before that 4-month period. And this is just a side thing of coming across this, because again, one thing I've done is just delve into my faith and studying and reading and understanding different aspects of it. And when I came across this, I was blown away. But so many mothers and so many fathers, they say to us, like, so because my baby was only 3 months old or 2 months old, that they didn't have a soul, they weren't a real baby. So I want to tell you that you mothers and you fathers, that your baby was a baby. That baby had a soul, and that baby is waiting for you in Jannah, in paradise. That child or children, that they, inshallah, bi'idhnillah ta'ala, will be a means of your salvation on the Day of Judgment, and that you will reconnect and you will get to hold these beautiful children in your arms one day, inshallah, bi'idhnillah ta'ala. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhum, and may the peace and blessings of Allah be upon each and every single one of you. Again, thank you so much for everything that you guys do for us. We are indeed the Saleh family, but we are much bigger than just the 5 of us. And we consider every one of you a part of it. So may God bless you. May God enable us to have ease and comfort through these difficult times, keep our hearts united as human beings. And yeah, stay blessed, everyone. Take care, inshallah.